Jesus Christ. Technical difficulty day.
Are you?
Hello, everybody.
Oh, welcome back.
Pull another YouTuber move. As you can see in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're back, finally. I told you it wasn't going to be a week.
Yeah,
I
right.
was like, it's probably going to be 2 or more. Yeah, so, cool. I say that. I've been saying that now instead of,
Right.
Yeah,
Have another
so
interjection.
today we're going to listen to Alice in Chains' Dirt, which pretty excited for. Came out in 1992. September 29th, to be exact. Trying to be a little bit more entertaining, because
Right.
fuck it, why not? I actually slept good last night. And it was on Columbia Records, and it was written, the majority of the songs written by Jerry Cantrell, and for the first time, vocalist Lane Staley wrote 2 songs by himself.
Yeah, he did. And actually, they're pretty good. I mean, it's interesting. We'll talk more about it later, but it's interesting because they're 2 of the lesser-known songs in this album.
Yeah.
But I think they're good.
And then Lane Staley was also on guitar on the 2 songs that he wrote.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And then the track Iron Gland features Tom Araya from Slayer on vocals. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. Yeah. What else we got? Mike Starr was fired in January 1993 during the tour. Who cares? He played bass.
Yeah, I mean, which is weird because it's like...
That's a joke. That's a joke. I don't want to fucking hear about it. It was just a fucking joke.
just jokes, man.
I didn't say he sucked. It was just a joke. The album's lyrics explore depression, pain, anger, antisocial behavior, relationships, drug addiction. They worded it weird. It says drug, primarily heroin, addiction, war, death, and other emotionally charged topics. Okay. Now that we got all that shit taken care of, let's start the fucking record. Jesus Christ. Them Bones. Yeah, so this is one of those 90s bands that I know, like, their hits. That's really it. And then this band was one of the reasons that I wanted to start this channel, this, I guess, genre, because, like, I wasn't really that into 90s music for a long time, 90s grunge music for a long time.
Right.
And the only band that I really did like from the 90s was
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden. Yeah.
Yeah, Soundgarden was probably the best one, in my opinion. They were all
We have to
good.
say in my opinion,
Right.
Tim, because they're going to think that we're saying everybody else sucks, which we never said.
No. I mean...
I will say that there are some very overrated bands, but I won't
Yes.
say they suck. Like, for example, I think Nirvana's very overrated.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I still like Pearl Jam and...
I can't stand Pearl Jam.
See, I
And
get
it's not even Pearl Jam. I don't like... I cannot fucking stand his voice. I can't stand Eddie Vedder's voice. There's that one song, and I mean, it's fucking hilarious. It says, if you're ever in a bad mood, just remember the inspirational words of Eddie Vedder, and it's just like his gibberish from that one song. It's like, that's how he fucking sings,
how he
though.
sings.
All you have to do to sing like Eddie Vedder is go like this, and then just say words,
Yeah.
but don't move your mouth.
Go to the dentist, get some Novocaine.
You don't have to do anything,
That's
because
true.
that at least costs money. You don't have to... Fuck that. All you gotta do is open your mouth wide and sing low.
Yeah.
And don't move your fucking mouth. That's how you sing like Eddie Vedder.
But yeah, I mean, like, as far as, like, what was going on at the time, because, I mean, I was really young when this album came out. I was probably about 7. So I was like...
These balls. Sorry, I slept last night. I'm just kind of really in a good mood.
But, like, these guys, like, right around that time and everything, it's probably, like, right when I was starting to get into music and, like, understand it. And it was a weird time because it was, like, right as soon as the heavy metal, like, well, I guess hair metal craze was ending, this stuff began.
Yeah.
And they were one of the bands that was lumped in the grunge category.
Mm-hmm. I think I get where the term grunge comes from, and it's mostly, I think, a appearance thing.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think it's a sound or...
Because really, I don't think that, like, these guys sound any grungier than, like, Pantera,
Right.
Or like, but they weren't considered grunge.
No.
You know, I think like metal at the time was grungier sounding than
Right.
grunge rock.
I think they just had to come up with a term to separate this style or alternative music from heavy metal. I mean, like, if you're listening to it and everything, it sounds like heavy metal to me. It's just a lot more laid back and more Black Sabbath inspired.
Yeah,
instead of
which
more,
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
A little bit slower, a little bit like there's less guitar solos.
Yeah.
You know, having said that, I don't think that these guitarists are any less talented
No.
or anything like that. We have to say it. We have to say it. People are gonna say we said they sucked.
Well, and kind of along those lines, though, I mean, I think it takes just as much, if not more, talent to come up with a good rhythm hook than it does to come up with a really good solo. Because
That's up for debate.
I mean,
That's a pretty hot topic there.
I agree, but I mean, for me personally, I mean, as a more of a lead guitar player myself, it's very difficult to come up with a good rhythm hook.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think these guys do a fine job of that. This was one of those bands, too, for the longest time. I knew their songs, but I never knew the names of their songs.
Yeah.
So I would be sitting here, oh, yeah, that's Alice in Chains. And then you get the album and stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't know any of these songs.
There was, I think Down in a Hole was one of those songs that I can't remember who I thought it was, but I didn't know it was Alice in Chains.
Right.
But this was one of those bands that the only songs that I knew was them for a long time was fucking Man in a Box.
Yeah.
Or whatever, Man in the Box, however the fuck it's called. And Them Bones. And The Rooster.
Well, they would play those songs constantly on our radio.
Yeah.
And,
Like if you play, like for example, this song,
yeah.
I mean, you can tell by the vocal harmonies, but I didn't know any of their music except for their hits.
I mean, and I had heard this before, but yeah, it's one of those where it's few and far between. I mean, I will give radio that credit now, as they are kind of going a little deeper and playing some of the more stuff that hasn't been played as much. But
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, man, you got sick of hearing the same shit. I mean, it was like every 10 minutes it was the same song.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this was no different. I mean, like, I think all the way up until I would say the early 2000s.
Oh, they're still playing these guys. This album is constantly on the radio.
Well, right, but I mean,
it's just that kind of music. It's just it's just timeless.
Yes.
It's dated, but it's timeless. Like,
right.
It works for today. Like almost 33 years later, it still sounds great.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, and along those lines too, the production quality on this album,
Yeah.
like, it's unbelievable.
Oh, I didn't say it in the intro. This is their second studio album.
Yeah.
Their first album was Facelift.
Yep.
That's the one with Man in the Box. What I think is crazy on this album is that, well, Wood has the most plays. This is on YouTube, and then Rooster, and then Down in a Hole. But it's weird that like those songs have more plays than Them Bones. Like I thought Them Bones was more popular. It's got a lot of these songs I don't know. But what's crazy to me is that like I didn't realize that some of these songs were that popular. Like every single song on this album has at least 10 million plays, except Sick Man has 4.4, and Godsmack has 3.6.
Well, what's interesting too, like, cause
like there's like it's 13 songs on this album. There's like 4 of them that have under 10 million plays.
Right.
But there's still millions of plays.
Well, and I think what that lends itself to is the band being as old as it is. So like when YouTube Music came around, I bet you a lot of those, it was like right away as soon as YouTube Music was available.
Yeah, and even that, having said that, this is plays on YouTube Music. That's not saying how many plays they've had on like Spotify or Pandora or, you know, record sales or anything like that. Like how many millions of views do they have before streaming platforms came out? And you know, these albums came out probably 20 years before streaming platforms came out.
Oh yeah.
One thing people don't talk about is how many downloads have they had on LimeWire.
Yeah, right.
You know,
how many times was it illegally pirated?
Yeah.
But,
how many fucking illegal downloads?
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to know that. Like,
that would be interesting. So, but I was gonna say, I remember this particular year, 1992. There was just a lot of great music videos that came out, and I know, actually, yeah, it was the first track, Them Bones. When that one came
Them balls.
I remember when that one came on, it was just such a weird, dark, like real kind of depressing kind of video compared to what I was used to seeing on MTV.
Yeah, I mean, other than like Enter Sandman, you know.
Yeah,
because that was a pretty heavy one. Yeah, and that was a really heavy one.
But I mean, it was kind of a nice contrast between like all the kind of, like, I hate calling it hair metal. I always just refer to it as pop metal. As far as those videos were concerned, it was all like real happy, bright, you know, and everybody's smiling, having a good time. Whereas like it was really interesting when this band hit and they had their videos and nobody's smiling. I mean, it's really weird, like real dark, depressing.
Yeah, but it's just a contrast between like, you know, girls and sex and then just a bunch of dudes depressed. I'm not making fun of the subject matter or anything like that. We have to say it.
Right.
We're not saying it sucks.
Well, and I was going to say, too, it was interesting because I have to kind of give glam metal and hair metal a little bit of credit for me even wanting to play guitar to an extent. Because, I mean, it made it look fun. Going into playing guitar and everything, I remember that kind of stuff, you know, and I guess to an extent I have to really give them a thanks for that, because even though like years later I'm not really into it, there was a time when I was, but
yeah, I mean, I still have a place in my heart for glam.
like, that's the whole mystique behind it, is like, oh yeah, if you play guitar you're gonna get girls, and you know the 2001 hits, and I'm sitting here
Did you
learning
realize
guitar.
that nobody gives a fuck about guitarists,
Yeah.
especially girls?
Just a bunch of dudes in the audience going,
Yeah.
yeah man, that was a sick riff.
Yeah, it's just like, is a very like parallel comparison between that and like car guys. Like,
Yeah.
dudes build cars for themselves, and the only people they care about is other dudes.
Yeah.
You think you're building a nice car
Yeah.
to get girls, but it's
Yep.
really to get the attention of other dudes. Hey,
So-
nice fucking Supra. The girl will be like, what's this fucking 40-year-old Toyota you got?
Yeah, right. I wonder when that whole mindset changed too. It's like learn how to play music to get girls, to now it's just I want to learn to play music for the sake of music. It seems like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was the 90s, man. I feel like Pantera came out and it kind of just changed
I think
the
so.
whole feeling of music, you know. And I don't know exactly. I can't pinpoint the exact fucking time when the mood changed, but yeah, like around early 90s, late 80s maybe, like rock music got really depressing, and
It did.
I think for the better, man. It put a lot more emotion into just rock music, and it just
Right.
made it more of a feeling thing and not so much of a let's do fucking cocaine and bang girls
Right.
kind of thing.
And I would even go so far as to say that's around the time it stopped being a money-making machine.
It was just a really dark time.
It was.
And
Like all of a sudden too. Like,
and you know, musicians write about what's going on at the time, you know, like I said, back in the 80s, everybody was doing cocaine, and that's pretty much what it was. Everybody was partying, living in excess. And
yeah.
in the 90s, I think there was just a lot of heavy shit going on. And,
Right.
you know, so you get its music's not necessarily heavy, but it's deep.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I
very
mean?
deep. Yeah, that's a good way to
And
put
it's
it.
a heavy feeling music.
Yeah.
You know?
Nowadays, what dates this kind of music is the fact that everything's so fast, aggressive, in your face, high tempo.
And like this is just a real, especially because they still play. I've heard this song on the radio countless times still.
Yeah.
And first of all, the sound still holds up today.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
does.
great sounding song and record. But like the first time I heard this song was probably like 10 years ago. Well, the first time I noticed this song was
Right.
probably like 10 years ago. I didn't fucking realize this came out in 1992.
Right.
You know, I was like, I could tell right away it was Alice in Chains just because of their,
Right.
you know, their vocal harmonies.
Well, same thing too with "Creep" by Stone Temple
Yeah.
Pilots. I never knew it was them. Like, cause like the first time, I'll be honest, first time I ever heard that album was sometime in the early 2000s.
Sorry, we paused the music for a second. I got packages in the mail. And I'll start the music in a second. And I have to say it now in a video. Not sponsored. This isn't sponsored. But we're going to try these one-shot drops developed by Mr. Matthew Heafy. And one shot. And it's supposed to make your voice feel better so you can sing and stuff longer. Made in collaboration with metal vocalist Matt Heafy, our voice drops support even the most extreme voices. But, I mean, from what I've read, they're just good for, like, if you talk a lot, or, I'll put it this way so you can see it. If you talk a lot, or singing, obviously.
So they can even help out Corpse Grinder, huh?
They're basically just, you know, if you get, you know, just a sore, just kind of gruff, or just tired voice from talking too much, it's supposed to help with that. For all you ASMR people. Because I've heard they taste kind of weird, but they taste really good. I don't know why people say they taste like shit. They taste really good. It's made with chicory root and honey, plus marshmallow and licorice root. Anyway, let's get back to the musics. One shot.
I'm probably gonna remember the '90s probably a little more than you would, because I mean, being born in the
Yeah.
mid '80s myself, you know. But at the same time, I can only probably remember back pretty clearly back to like 95, 94, or somewhere in there. I was thinking, man, it was like 1992 all the way up until probably I would say 1996. Yeah, like just one thing after another. Because you had like Waco, you had LA
Columbine.
riots, Columbine.
There was a lot, man.
Like just a ton of stuff happened right at one time.
And then 99, you know, the whole new millennium thing and
Yeah.
that whole scare. There's a really good show on, it's either Hulu or Prime, Dark Side of the 90s.
Oh yeah.
And they touch on all that stuff. They touch on the
Heaven's Gate was
Heaven's
one of
Gate and
them. The Davidians.
the Davidians, yeah. They touch on that. They touch on like people selling religion on TV.
Oh yeah, the televangelists.
Yeah,
like
and then they
what's
talk,
his name, Graham.
Yeah, and they talk about the millennium thing, and they talk about and they're all broken into separate episodes. It's really good. They talk about like the whole like talk show craze and like trash TV,
like Ricky Lake and all them.
Yeah, and Jerry Springer and Maury and Maury, wherever you're from, you say it different. From our era, this is gonna date us too. Stay Home Sick. They were like our fucking babysitters. They were. Fucking put on Jerry Springer when you're fucking 6 years old.
Well, I remember when that all started too, because it was I remember Maury in particular. He used to be like a legitimate talk show. Like he would just talk about all kinds of shit. I remember when the whole "Who's Your Daddy" thing started, and I was like, and then it just became a thing, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this shit.
Well, Jerry Springer was at first too, but then the guy that was producing it or writing it, I think they got a new producer or whatever. He was the one that decided that they should go in a more entertaining route. But anyway, Alice in Chains.
But I will say though, growing up as a kid in the '90s, it was a good time to grow up, especially in the area, well, in the Midwest, I would say, because when I said earlier it was pretty boring. I would say '90s Midwest was pretty boring. Like,
but
not a whole lot happened here. Right.
Yeah.
The '90s though, like, it's really hard to forget those times. Ooh.
Hold on, I forgot how to breathe for a second. I'm choking on my saliva. God damn it, Matt Heafy, you're killing me.
I was gonna say, oh man, it's like Warheads where you get to the
your
center.
Fucking shitty things killing me. I'm just kidding. They're really good.
But yeah, growing up in the '90s, it was kind of fun. I mean, it was like, I think it was the last decade where you could still be a kid and actually experience being a kid. I think the kids now, though, I think that's why it's hard for like people my age and older to relate to kids now, because they're just so different. I mean, like, I'm not going to say it in a good way or a bad way, because I mean, I think difference is good. It's just, it's so glaringly different between people my age and the younger crowd. Like, just, I think it is literally the fact there was no internet when I grew up. I cannot understand the whole internet culture and the dependence on it.
But like, everybody uses it for like Instagram and just fucking trashing everybody online,
right.
And it's like, the internet was invented to be a fucking endless source of knowledge or of information. And people use it for like cat memes. I remember when YouTube was new and like every video was like at most like 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
And that was like rare. Most of them were like under 5 minutes.
Yeah. Like it was almost like the shorts now. It was that was pretty much like a standard YouTube video, like 2 to 5 minutes long.
You have to listen to it a few times for it to really grab you. Where like music now, everybody just songs are like 2 minutes long. And
I'm glad you brought that up too, because just looking at the song lengths on here, there's a few that are like a little under 4 minutes.
Yeah,
couple
most of
under
them
3,
are like
5 to 6 minutes, and I'm sitting here going, you could never get away with making an album like that now.
Yeah,
like you just couldn't.
Sorry guys, we've been having technical difficulties all morning.
But yeah, I mean, like, just song length, sheer song length in general. See, and I think that is a product of the times. It was just a matter of like, I think it was more what's the word for it? Economy culture at the time. It's like they wanted to really make it worth the money you were paying for the album too, so they would load it with time.
I think the first actual CD that I bought was Blizzard of Oz.
Yeah.
The first was Elton John's Greatest Hits, and I bought it on cassette.
Yeah, I remember that.
I fucking listened to that dude. I used to love Elton John. Elton John was just a fucking great entertainer.
He was. I'll give him that. I don't know. Like,
But the only reason I bought that was because, like, I thought that song Crocodile Rock.
Okay.
I was young, and I thought that was just a really goofy, kind of silly song.
Yeah.
And of course, that would, catch my adolescent ears. And I really liked that song. And then I ended up just, because of that, listening to that tape over and over and over again. And that was also the only thing that I had, really.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it takes to start liking a lot of music, especially, like, if it's from a completely different era that you were from, is you just fucking listen to it a bunch of times. Eventually you'll like it. I didn't really start listening to like grunge or 90s alternative until like, probably 10, 15 years ago.
And I would agree. I mean, at the time I did, but then I didn't listen to it. I kind of shelved it for a long time because, and actually at that time I went back to listening to older heavy metal music.
Yeah.
I didn't really follow the times. I've said that a few times on this channel, but I didn't really follow the times in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, these guys though, I mean, just like Soundgarden, and I would say these guys and Soundgarden They were very versatile. Like, they had a lot of different styles. Yes, they sound like them when you hear them, but if you listen a little closer to what's going on musically and everything, you can hear a lot of different inspiration, a lot of different experimentation that they tried. This song, the way his vocals are, it sounds an awful lot like Surge for a second there. He just had like that sort of inflection.
Yeah, there was a lot of well, it wasn't that far off or time wise either, like new metal and grunge. So there was still kind of.
Think about it, yeah, it really wasn't.
Because new metal came out in like the late '90s,
yeah,
like '97, '98.
Because everybody wants to say it was.
Or whenever Korn came out, so like mid '90s.
I was gonna say everybody wants to say Korn was like the first band that did that, and yeah, like they started. I want to say their first album was '94, was it not?
Mid '90s. That's all I know. I've never been a Korn fan.
No,
I didn't say they suck.
That's gonna be our new thing.
I'm not bitter about that comment at all.
If it was '94 or '96, either way.
Yeah.
This was '92, so I mean, less than half a decade passed between the time of this album and those. So, and you can tell too that new metal drew heavily from the alternative and grunge scene. I mean, it sounded different enough, but you could really hear it's like there's kind of more of the same.
They all kind of, there were so many like huge inspirations, like inspirational bands in like the 80s and 90s that like it's kind of getting all blurred together now. As far as like influences, but like, I mean, most bands nowadays, Alice in Chains, Metallica, Pantera,
and
the staples.
I think those are great bands to have inspiration from, and I think these guys did fine for themselves. I mean, I don't think that they were really on the same level as say Soundgarden or Nirvana or anything like that, but they were pretty high up there.
Where my biggest influence, and you're not going to believe it when I say it, is Bon Jovi.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
I was going to say I don't believe that's true, but
just kidding. People always like get the wrong idea when I say shit like that. Like, I'm not talking about Bon Jovi as a singer. I'm talking about Bon Jovi as a band as a whole.
Right.
What does he say? Mr. Bovine Joni. Always Sunny fans, you'll get it. There was a pretty big, long time where I was listening to a lot of hair metal and glam metal and just 80s rock in general.
I mean, it was exciting music. I mean, let's be real. It was very bright in your face.
I feel like the 80s, like early to mid, maybe late 80s, were where a lot of the best like guitar heroes came from.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying like Alex Lifeson wasn't a guitar hero or whatever, but like I don't know how to say it without pissing off a lot of people. And I'm not saying that he was a bad guitarist, but he just wasn't the same caliber of guitarist.
I agree.
As like Eddie Van Halen or like a lot of these 80s shred guitarists. They're not even the same like style of guitar.
No.
So like that's why it's kind of hard. You can't really say that. You can't really compare Jerry Cantrell to Alex Lifeson.
No.
You know what I mean? You can't compare Alex Lifeson to fucking Kirk Hammett.
Right. But I will say though, I mean, you'll be hard pressed to find another guitar player out there, maybe David Gilmour, who's very, able of, making the most out of very little. You know what I mean? I really do think there was huge influence from like early Sabbath and 70s progressive rock.
Yeah.
Because, and I think I've seen interviews like that.
Listen to his guitar solo. It sounds like Tony Iommi.
It does. And then there's times too where you can hear a little David Gilmour in it. You can hear a little bit of Rush in it.
That's a pretty sick tone too.
It is.
It's a good guitar solo.
I love Jerry Cantrell's playing.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays with such feel and
I think he was a Les Paul guy too, wasn't he? Yeah, he's got his signature Epiphone out now.
The other thing about this band though too, and I think we mentioned it a minute ago, was just the vocal harmonies. I don't know. I don't think very many bands do it much better.
Yeah, and we were talking about it earlier too. After their singer died,
Lane Staley.
Yeah, after he died, they came out with another album, but it was all Jerry Cantrell doing the vocals, and it's like it just sounds like,
it does.
Because I didn't realize that he did all the harmonies and shit. I thought it was all just like post. Like,
well, I was gonna say I thought that too.
I mean, I'm sure it was post, but I thought it was like just Lane Staley doing all the vocals.
Yeah, like him just layering it.
Yeah.
But I thought that too. But it,
Oh, I thought.
Yeah, this is Angry Chair.
Oh, I know this song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that this what the song was called.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say we were talking about it earlier, and I'm like, it is a goofy song, but it's one of them that Lane Staley wrote.
Yeah.
And I actually really like this song. Like, I think it's really cool. Like, it's real sludgy, and I don't know. Like, it's really interesting.
Man, I'm tired all of a sudden. I've used up all my energy. Matt Heafy, he tried to kill me, and now I'm tired.
His life flashed before his eyes, and now he wants to take a nap.
You know, I got this weird shit on my thumb. That's just ink. I can see it's wearing off already.
No, the last song of the album, which is Wood.
Wood?
Yeah, Wood. It's about Andy Wood. He was a singer for another band. I think it was Mother Love Bone. But they were all friends and stuff, and he wrote this for the guy. But I want to say this is the only song on this album that was recorded before the album, like before they even worked on this album.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then they were like, well, this song is pretty strong, and we're going to have to put this on an album, so they put it on this one. And I agree. I think but it's also, I think, the only song that was engineered by Rick Parasher on this album. I think somebody else produced the entire rest of the album except this song.
Yeah.
So
this being like the first time, I'm sure it's not the first time listening to this whole album, but Casey used to listen to this at work a lot, but you're working, you can't really listen to it. I don't know, this might be my new favorite 90s album.
yeah.
It's really good, man. Like, there's so many songs that I didn't even fucking know.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also a lot of songs that I didn't know was them on this album. It's just a great album, man.
It's a very good album.
Most of their hits on it, and yeah, I think I like this a lot more than like Soundgarden.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just a lot darker, and I love really dark music.
Yeah.
So like,
And that was their whole thing, this band, was just, I think of the grunge bands, these guys were the most edgy and the most closer to heavy metal than the others. Because Soundgarden, you can make a case for that, but I think Alice in Chains, though, they were more like, I would just call them alternative metal, to be honest with you.
that was Dirt by Alice in Chains. Pretty sweet. I like it a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's always been one of my favorites ever since I first heard it, and it's always nice to go back to these albums because, again, for me, they're nostalgic.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they were kind of somewhat recent for listening for you, but for me, I mean, I grew up with these songs. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of songs that I've known forever.
Yeah.
But like I said, like, I didn't know the song Dirt. I didn't know the song Godsmack. I didn't know Angry Chair was Angry Chair. You know, it's a great album. Check it out. I know we cut the piss out of these videos, but you know, copyright is the thing, and we're not trying to get copyright written again. If you're wondering, Casey, this is why I asked you about it. And I took your advice. Because I was thinking of just doing their first album. So yeah, check it out. Tell us what you think about how shitty of reviewers we are in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let's at least try to get up to 50, guys. We're at 40 right now. We'd like to get 10 more. That was the goal. I said by the end of this year, I'd like to have 50.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem that unrealistic, but we're not very well known either, so that's okay. We're just kind of doing this in our free time. Yeah. That's why they come out maybe once a week. Yeah, check it out. Check out all our other videos. Check out Tim's new channel.
Yes.
If you want to learn how to play guitar.
Yep.
He's going through the modes right now. We're going to do another one after this. Yeah, so see you next time. Have fun. Goodbye.
All right, guys, have a good week.